Yep. Okay, here's my setup. I've got a nice long beam. Nice long beam, the length of my rail here, my frame. And I have decided to cut out the metal that was warped. I'm going to replace this with some pretty stout stuff. So that, and I wanted to make this as easy on myself as possible. I tried this with without these sections removed and just heated up, and it didn't work. So I'll show you what I'm looking at for the warp stuff. Here's a larger piece, and you can see that it does indeed have some pretty good warps. There's my attempt at heating it up. I gotta say, this primer's awfully good stuff. This chassis stuff I've got from Eastwood, and then epoxy primer over that, so awfully good. And here's a smaller section. Again, a little dorked up, with a goddamn nail in it too. Jesus God. Anyway, I'm going to, with my come along here, I'm going to crank on that thing and see if I can bring that that arch down by a few inches. It's going to be 1 7/8, I think it was. I'll have to research and go back to my old videos and find out. But if I crank and can't get that thing down, I will then go to that and cut the top off. I'm going to replace that top anyway, so there we go. So let me show you what you're looking at. I've got chain in 2 areas on the frame, and the frame is protected by those wedges, some tape, and that's about it. On the inside of the rail, for example, oops, let me see. Inside of the rail here, I didn't want to bend any of the work that I'd already done, so I've got that as a guard. Again, this just keeps it from moving around. This tape here is really nothing more than just to kind of keep it steady as I was working the chain, so there's not for any structural support whatsoever. And I've got this with a come along in the back. I don't know why I did it that way, because I'm dumb. I'll let that go and put it on the other side here. Yeah. And then I've got the 4x4s taped together. Again, not so they're structurally sound, but so that they don't move with relative to one another. It's not Einstein. And that's that. I am likely to cut that top right there. Oh wow. And maybe I thought maybe there was a change already, but I may need to cut that. Cut that seam right there, in case it starts bending in a way that I don't like it to. So I'm gonna pause a sec. Maybe set up a different camera. Alright, here we go. I think this is about as tight as I want to get it. And you can see that the 1/16 of an inch, or whatever the thickness of one cutting disc is now there. And so, oh, my back hurts. I'm going to fill this back up with metal, weld it in, use some cardboard cutouts, excuse me, and oh yeah, let me show you how it looks on the back. So a hell of a lot better than how it used to be. The left side here, the driver's side, is still a little bit higher because of how I got things jacked up, and so forth. But most telling is where that is. Before, actually you can see it here. That's the dust that got moved by this string here. And as I lowered this down on that side, the string traveled with it and drug over the dust. So I am just about in the center where it needs to be. The gas tank holders aren't centered, so don't use that as a reference. But look down the center of the car, and there it is. So I have done a pretty good job in straightening this thing. I'll see if I can find a reference point there at the top of the screen. Just about right there. So I'm not doing too awfully bad. I may just leave this for tonight and let it sit here and kind of stretch out on its own before I start welding things in. And it didn't take me very long either. Once I got everything set up, I had to readjust, adjust again, adjust one more time. I rigged up some stuff. I sawed off some wood there so it wouldn't catch on the back and stop moving. I have probably 2 more clicks on that thing before I'm unable to do it on my own. And I sure as hell don't have a pry bar. I know, of all things. My kingdom for a horse or a goddamn pry bar. So, and the wood is beginning to kind of bow, so I'm at a point where I'm just about at max tension on this frame. Another thing I'm going to probably do, once I do get this all undone and welded up and so forth, is to reassess this here and whether I'm going to just cut a V, zip and zip, and pull this side down some more. Once I weld all this stuff in and I clean everything up, I will know better. For now, I'm gonna start cutting out templates on my with cardboard and start making the patches. So what I intend on doing is doing an inner and an outer box section. I'm going to put an inner piece of metal, nice and thick, probably 2 inches or 3 beyond each edge, out to here and respectively there, and weld it in, a whole bunch of plugs on each side, and then cover that with a piece of metal that's a little thinner. As stout as these frames are, this metal's not very thick. I'm going to use much thicker metal. So, not too displeased. I probably could have got a better lever arm had that not been in the way. Didn't have a whole heck of a lot of choice just because of how it, how this thing is put together. These 2 inner arches kind of curve inward. So using this, I kind of had no choice, but oh well, shit happens, right? Actually, I guess I could have done, well, it doesn't matter now, it's already done. So cutting and welding, and here we go. My frame is a hell of a lot more straight than it used to be. I mean, even right there. And let's see if I can. Yeah, obviously some issue on. The wood's beginning to crinkle and crack. Some issue right there at the apex, but that is an artifact of the prior repair. So I can't do anything about that. But prior repair in 1970, that is. But not too bad. Like I say, most telling is that strain, how it traveled over. So I know I made some progress, and I know I've twisted the frame down. So once this is done, and I've got an even surface, I'll use that jack and another one, whatever the hell that thing is, at the same distance and same point, and then I'll be able to tell how much more I've got to do. So Yeah, not bad, not bad at all. All right, so here are my my patch panels. Um, this I believe is 14 gauge steel. Yep, I bought this today. I actually rounded this stuff, but 14 gauge steel on this. This will be the internal to the frame portion. This being the longer one. It's not meant to fit exactly. All I wanted was an overlap like this. And then through the frame itself, I'm going to drill a series of holes and use those as plugs. You know, as what do you call them? Butt plugs. Plug welds. And then more or less the same thing here on the smaller piece. Again, I want that overlap, so I've got a lot of area. So a lot of area to you know, do multiple weld points. And then over this, again, this is going to be on the internal of the frame. These are going to be the frame pieces that are missing, and that will be that. That'll be tomorrow. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. This. I could just slice it off there. But I just don't want to do that. I don't. Just because I like to keep this frame as original as I possibly can. And bending at a, well, maybe I could do that. I don't know. I think if I can bend that metal like I want to, so it's at a perfect 90-degree angle and it's kind of curved like that, I will do that top piece as well. Replace that top piece. Really, I should, but yeah. Well, anyway, I am tickled frickin' pink to see that my frame is beginning to straighten out, and I damn well did it, even though I had some. I'm looking at. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking to myself. I've got a little bit more work to do on the frame. And again, I'm going to find out better once I have the frame, the thing, kind of unloaded. Whether I need to move, hunker down, change, or whatnot.